This island hides things beneath kilometres of ice, things humans lost, things nature controls, and things powerful countries suddenly want back. The questions are, why does almost no one live in Greenland? And what happens when the ice starts letting go? Welcome to Nomad's Echoes, where forgotten stories, ancient traditions, and the hidden power of our planet come to light. Greenland is the largest island on Earth. Not a remote rock, not a frozen outpost, a massive landmass, larger than most countries, stretching across the North Atlantic and deep into the Arctic. From the air, it looks endless. A white interior surrounded by sharp coastlines, fjords, and narrow strips of colour where towns cling to the edge. But something feels wrong almost immediately. There are no roads crossing the island, no highways linking cities, no way to drive from one town to another. Each settlement is isolated, cut off by ice, water, or mountains. Travel between towns happens by plane, boat, helicopter, or in winter by snowmobile and dog sled. Beyond the coast, the interior begins, and almost no one goes there. Not because it's illegal, not because it's protected, but because there is nothing there that humans can use. Greenland looks empty, but it isn't empty, it's inaccessible. People say Greenland is empty because it's too cold. That explanation is convenient and wrong. Humans live in places colder than Greenland, northern Siberia, parts of Canada, even Antarctica seasonally. Cold slows life down, but it doesn't stop it. If cold were the reason, Greenland would still have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people. So the real reason isn't what Greenland feels like, it's what Greenland is. And to understand that, you don't look at the weather, you look at the ground beneath it. About 80% of Greenland is covered by a single ice sheet. This is not snow that melts every summer. This is ice that has been building up for millions of years. On average, it is more than 1.5 kilometers thick. In some areas, nearly 3 kilometers. That amount of ice weighs so much that it has physically pushed the island downward. Large parts of Greenland's interior are actually below sea level. This changes everything. If the ice vanished tomorrow, Greenland would not suddenly become fertile land. Much of it would flood. The island is shaped like a giant bowl, mountains around the edges, and a crushed interior pressed down by ice. There was never stable land to expand into. That's why humans never moved inland. Not because they didn't want to, because there was nowhere to go. But the ice does more than block access. It also locks things in place. And once something is locked inside Greenland, it doesn't disappear. And it's not just objects that ended up trapped here, life did too. Over time, the ice became more than a barrier. It became a storage system. Greenland's ice sheet is not static, it moves. Slowly, constantly, relentlessly. Anything buried in it does not stay in the same place. During World War II in 1942, an American fighter plane made an emergency landing on Greenland. The crew survived. The plane was abandoned. Year after year, snow buried it. Decade after decade, it disappeared. Half a century later, in 1992, the aircraft was found again, entombed beneath more than 80 meters of ice. The ice hadn't destroyed it, it had carried it. This discovery revealed something unsettling. Greenland doesn't erase the past, it stores it, and sometimes it releases it. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If a plane can disappear and return decades later, what else is buried under the ice? That question became far more disturbing in the modern era. In 1968, a US B-52 bomber crashed in northern Greenland. On board were 4 thermonuclear bombs. The crash scattered debris across ice and sea ice. An immediate clean-up operation followed, involving both the United States and Denmark. Most of the wreckage was recovered, but one critical component of a nuclear weapon was never officially found: a small cylindrical part containing nuclear material. To this day, it is believed that this component may still be buried somewhere beneath Greenland's ice. No warning signs, no exact location, just ice, slowly moving. Greenland is one of the few places on Earth where something this dangerous can happen and remain unresolved for decades. In 2013, scientists using ice-penetrating radar made a discovery that changed how we understand Greenland. Beneath the ice lies a canyon, not a small one. A canyon more than 700 kilometers long, longer than the Grand Canyon, carved by an ancient river system that existed before the ice sheet covered the island. No human has ever seen it directly. It has remained hidden under ice for hundreds of thousands of years. If the ice continues to melt, parts of this canyon could flood instantly. Other areas could rise as the land rebounds upward after being freed from the ice's weight. Greenland's interior is not stable land. It's a landscape still in transition. And above that unstable ground, life adapted in very specific ways. Greenland's wildlife is not background scenery, it sets the rules. Polar bears are not rare sightings. In many areas, they are a constant risk. Walruses, Arctic wolves, musk oxen dominate large regions of land and sea. And beneath the surface lives one of the most disturbing animals on Earth: the Greenland shark. This shark can live for more than 250 years. Some individuals alive today were born before the industrial age. It moves slowly, it lives deep, and it survives in waters humans rarely enter. Greenland's ecosystem is slow, cold, and unforgiving. It does not adapt to humans. Humans adapt to it, or leave. For thousands of years, this balance barely changed. Ice, isolation, survival. And then, very recently, that balance began to fail. For most of human history, Greenland's ice was stable. It grew slowly, it moved slowly, and it melted slowly. That stability is gone. Today, Greenland is losing hundreds of billions of tons of ice every single year, not in one dramatic collapse, but continuously, season after season. From space, satellites can now measure the loss almost in real time. Entire glaciers are thinning. Meltwater rivers are forming on top of the ice sheet. Water is drilling its way downward, lubricating the ice from below and speeding up its movement toward the ocean. This is not a distant future scenario. It's happening now. If Greenland's entire ice sheet were to melt, global sea levels would rise by roughly 7 meters. That would redraw the world map. Coastal cities wouldn't just flood temporarily. Many would become uninhabitable. But sea level rise is only part of the story. Because Greenland's ice doesn't just store water, it stores balance. All that fresh water flowing into the ocean has the potential to disrupt major ocean currents, including those that regulate temperatures across the North Atlantic. In simple terms, the same process that is warming the Arctic could weaken the currents that keep Europe mild. Greenland melting could make parts of Europe colder, not warmer. It's one of the planet's great paradoxes. And it's one of the reasons scientists are watching Greenland so closely. But scientists aren't the only ones paying attention. Because melting ice doesn't just change the climate, it changes value. When Donald Trump suggested buying Greenland in 2019, most people laughed. It sounded absurd. A real estate deal on a continental scale. But behind the headlines, the idea wasn't random. Greenland sits at the intersection of three forces shaping the 21st century. The first is military strategy. As Arctic ice retreats, the polar region is no longer a frozen barrier. It's becoming a corridor. The shortest routes between North America, Europe, and Asia pass over or near Greenland. That makes the island strategically critical for surveillance, early warning systems, and control of Arctic airspace. The second force is resources. Beneath Greenland's ice and rock lie vast reserves of oil, natural gas, and rare earth minerals. Rare earths are essential for modern technology: smartphones, electric vehicles, wind turbines, military hardware. Right now, much of the world depends on a limited number of suppliers. As Greenland's ice retreats, access to these materials becomes easier, and whoever controls access controls leverage. In other words, Greenland is no longer just a remote island. It's a strategic platform. Trump didn't want Greenland because it was empty. He wanted it because it was becoming valuable. What attracts governments, companies, and military planners is exactly what keeps ordinary life away. So why does almost no one live in Greenland? Not because it's cold, but because the land is crushed by ice, because food cannot grow, because cities cannot connect, because the interior is unstable, because the past is buried, sometimes dangerously, and because the future is still uncertain. Greenland is not a place humans failed to settle. It's a place that never allowed it. And as the ice continues to retreat, Greenland will not become easier to live in. It will become more important, more contested, and more watched. Because what has been buried there for centuries is slowly coming back into reach. And this is Nomad's Echoes. Today, Greenland. Next time, another place where the world hides more than it shows.